The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Mid-Carolina Service Company.
Mid-Carolina Service Company is the first name to search for your residential or commercial HVAC needs in Lexington and surrounding areas.
Just go holler at Jason and Clint. They'll hook you up on the air conditioners, on the restaurant equipment, refrigerators, refrigeration, ice machine repair. They've been doing this for years. I know them cats forever.
Family owned and operated since 2006, they pride themselves in their quality work and customer relationships. Call 803-356-4153 or visit midcarolinaserviceco.com for a no obligation quote for service today.
The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by True Brilliance Entertainment.
True Brilliance is a production, promotions, and management company dedicated to connecting artists and producers across the Carolinas to music industry professionals.
Several of their clients have placements both domestic and internationally as a result of their services.
Are you an artist or producer looking to build meaningful relationships within the music industry? Then True Brilliance is for you. Check them out at paramilitary.com. That's spelled P-A-I-R-A military.com.
This episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Bob's. Bob's is a Columbia-based retailer of over 100 Black-owned products from 20 Black-owned businesses. Bob's offers a wide range of items from household cleaning, cosmetics, and everything in between. With every visit to Bob's, you support Black-owned businesses, giving them the opportunity to grow and establish connections with our community. Bob's is located inside the Noma warehouse at 2222 Sumter Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Visit their website, weshopbobs.com, for in-store pickup or to find out more. Bob's can also be found via social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at weshopbobs. When you stop by, tell them the Hilltop Glove sent you. Bob's brings quality Black brands to the Columbia community. The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Red Rooster Sports Bar and Grill. Red Rooster is your neighborhood bar and grill serving the best wings, burgers, and baskets in the Met.
Like the amazing food, the bar is always on tap, and there's plenty of screens to watch the big game. Red Rooster is the Midland's premier meetup spot for local car and bike clubs, fraternities, and sororities.
Staff is dedicated to accommodating all kinds of parties and events. If you're looking to catch a game, have a bite, and a drink, look no further than the Red Rooster.
Red Rooster is located at 7500 Wilson Boulevard, Columbia, South Carolina. For more information, visit redroostersportsbar.com or visit them on Facebook, Instagram at Red Rooster Sports Bar. Go where the winners go.
Welcome to the Hilltop Glove Podcast.
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 Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to this episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast. I'm one of your hosts today, DJ and What, and I'll be joined today by Tamaya.
Hey.
And maybe Mike a little soon, a little later. We'll see if that will happen or not. But we do have an excellent guest today that we're going to have a great conversation with. Our guest today, his name is B Fresh. B Fresh is a Greenville-based music producer, artist, and videographer. He's also the creator of Soul Food clothing line and executive producer of Amethyst, a series of compilation albums created by South Carolina artists and producers. Good morning, B Fresh, and welcome to the Hilltop Glove Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. How y'all?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for
Excellent.
joining us this morning.
Ain't no problem. Well, technically, I'm not Greenville based.
What is your base and where you based out of?
I'm actually based out of St. Matthews. That's where I was born and raised.
Word.
Yeah.
Word.
I got family out there. What's up?
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I lived in Greenville for like 7 years. I just actually recently moved back to the area.
Okay, got you. All right, so I mean, we always like to begin a conversation with a little backstory so the audience can, they can get to know who the guest actually is from their own mouth. So would you mind telling us, our audience, a little bit about your upbringing and what makes B Fresh unique?
Well, like I said, I'm from St. Matthews, South Carolina, small town, population maybe like 2,200 people. I like to say I'm a dreamer. I'm someone who I feel as though was born into a small environment, but had aspirations to do other things. I like to pride my mom early on for giving us, and like me and my sister, giving us different experiences over the course of some years. So I always had an interest in art, always had a small interest in music. And me and one of my friends was talking about doing something ever since high school, music and art related. And that's what I've been in that space since. Just expressing myself.
Excellent, excellent. And could you explain a little bit to our podcast too, like exactly like what you do and how you do it? Because I want them to understand, like, you aren't just a one-tone person. You have a couple of different hats.
Yeah. Well, I look at it. I always say, when it comes to being a creative, I don't let anyone put me in a box. So by doing so, I'm always entering new ventures and investing in stuff that I'm interested in. When it came down to music, I tell people all the time how I got interested in working with artists and stuff. Well, I would say back in 2013 when I did my first release party alongside that, I had different people come out, different performers come out. And since then, I could say, I built a relationship and rapport with these people over the years, helped them get their content out. I like to say I'm kind of like the younger version of a Clarence Avant. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just do it. I just enjoy music, enjoy art, and if I can help others get in a space that they're not, allocated to, I'm gonna do so.
Mm-hmm. That's the bomb. That's the bomb, and that's why I want our audience to know, like, you aren't just. And this is weird to say, like, you aren't just an artist. You're a creative. Like they said, you're a creative person and you have skills that you use to get and create lanes for other people to be able to express themselves, etc. And I know creative people, as people always like to say, like to daydream, imagine the possibilities that you were just saying and the wonders of the world. You all immerse yourselves into their imagination and their fantasy, but you remain grounded enough to turn those daydreams into reality. What in your personal life has influenced you to choose a career as a creative? Like, what led you down this lane as it being something that is fruitful, that will be fruitful for you?
Peace. I could definitely say peace. That really sums it up to everything. Like, I live a peaceful life. So within that, I've always been a kid to like kind of go against the grain and, do what I felt, So within that, I tell people all the time, the same principles that we grew up on, they still apply to this day. There's a lot of people aren't applying them. So, do unto others as they do unto you. Like those simple principles still apply to this day. And I feel like that drives me to keep going as a creative. And within that, finding different lanes, finding different interests. And, I always strive to tell others, find an interest and invest in your lifestyle. Because once you invest in your lifestyle and you're doing something that you love to do, you don't feel like work.
That's something I know, especially our audience for our podcast is geared towards millennials learning how to adult properly and handle their business and be entrepreneurs and et cetera. I think that's something that people need to understand, that it's not work for you. Like you said, this is something you love to do. You put your heart and your soul into the work. And I guess this leads to the next question. Do you feel that your creativity is expressed only through that heart and soul, or do you think it's a like some people say, a left brain thing too, where it's calculated, or does it just flow?
I feel like sometimes we can overthink things. When it comes down to doing things. One thing that has been helping me, I know, especially over the course of some years, all the stuff that I'm interested in doing, I found myself not finishing. But one thing that I can say is that I've learned to equally pour into every pot. So within that, within equally pouring into every pot, one of those pots has to overflow. So long as you are applying and saying, well, let me try this. I haven't tried this, so let me get some insight on it and figure it out. It's important because it helps us grow as individuals. Really finding yourself, finding your purpose. We all put on this earth to serve others in different ways. So within that, express yourself creatively to be able to help others, to be able to help yourself be a better person.
Man, I totally and wholeheartedly agree with that statement you just made. Yeah. I always tell people, people are our best resource. Mm-hmm. Like, you're here to help other people. Like, if you don't think that or understand that, you're sorely misunderstanding the whole situation of being here. But I appreciate you saying that.
I know as a creative, it's like that's our way of connecting and learning from other people, is growing. But that's why we're on the podcast, because we have conversation. So as you guys are talking, we're interviewing guests, it's like I can see where I connect with that person or what we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
But I know being a creative is just like, it's difficult. So I know
not to cut y'all. It definitely can be difficult, especially I find myself, one thing that I tell other creatives about doing to not get discouraged is, explaining yourself to someone who is nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with that. But you explaining yourself to someone who wants to continue on down that path is only going to discourage you even more, because they're not going to understand it. And being that they don't understand it, you're not going to have enough confidence in yourself to be able to try to do so.
Lesson. Yep. Lesson. That's the jewel right there.
And
because they are on your same path.
Yeah. So what kind of difficulties did you experience being a creative? Because I know me, just owning or just learning and trusting your own judgment is kind of hard as a creative. So did you face any difficulties or obstacles just developing yourself, because as a creative, you don't understand, there's no written way or plan to go. So how did you just become yourself?
I don't know. It's a lot of different ways that I feel that it can, go left or go right. But some of the things I've learned over the course of a couple of years, I have a tendency to, put a lot of people before my work. And that's just, I like to say the hospitality in me, you know what I'm saying? With it. But, and also trusting other people to help you along your journey. Ultimately, you're the conductor in it. Mm-hmm. You assign the people to you around you that is going to handle certain things that you maybe not able to handle, but make sure that you have the right people in place to do so. So every working component is able to complete whatever you're trying to accomplish. So just working with others, also trusting your own judgment. I think that's something I had a struggle with too, a lot of times.
Second guessing yourself.
Yeah, second guessing yourself, double down. But now, I always say yeah, you want to please the consumer, you want to please, your supporters, but you also want to please yourself first. So that's something I feel like I've came to terms with over the course of the past 2 years, just really just trusting my judgment and honing in and holding myself accountable when need be.
So I have just a random question. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
I'm 30.
Just so our viewers, our listeners can kind of get a feel, I like to ask people their age just to see how much they have accomplished and how much more they have to go, But I see like millennials are out here getting it.
It's the millennials, they get it. You know what I'm saying? They get it. They get it. And I feel like they're very passionate about what they're doing. There's a lot of millennials that's coming up that's very humble too.
Yep.
So, it's really like a paradigm shift, but
and we bridge the gap too between the older folk and the younger folk. Like without us, like it look crazy out here.
So can you tell us, going into like music production, I listened to one of your Spotify playlists and it was on point. I have to say, keep doing those. Yep. I really appreciate that. But I know creative collaboration is the process of working with others to accomplish a shared goal in an innovative way. So working on projects independently can limit your amount of feedback that you receive during that creative process, leaving out other people's perspective. So as a music producer and videographer, what are some of the problems you face with collaborating with other creatives on certain projects, whether it be music, videography, or with your clothing brand? What are some of the misconceptions or problems that you face?
I think some of the biggest misconceptions or problems that I may face when it comes to working with other people is really kind of getting them to trust your judgment, especially if they're reaching out for a certain service. A lot of people, I understand, a lot of people, they're comfortable with, a lot of people aren't comfortable with change, and change can be good sometimes. Change can be just because it's like being around, if you're being around someone that sees another, outlet about you, you should try it out. So it's just like, really getting people to trust you and trust you on certain things. Definitely, like I said, having the right people around to have in certain positions. You may hire a person for a service and they may not, fully fulfill that service. So, you a lot of times, that's honestly how I got to even do other stuff, as far as like doing photography on the side, doing videography on the side, because I paid or tried to pay, for those services for someone who's advertising it as a business, but they're not really following up on the business end. So I never, take offense to it. I'm just the type of person that's like, okay, well, if I can't figure it out, and I know I need to get it done, ultimately this is for me, I'm gonna take the time out and I'm gonna try to learn how to do it. No, am I gonna be good in the beginning stages? No. But over a course of a couple times, I'm gonna be able to do so. One thing is I like to tell people all the time, I remember when I was younger, I didn't know how to cook. And I was out on my own early at like the age of 19. I didn't know how to cook. It took me for me to become 22 to learn how to cook, knowing that I was about to be a father. And I told myself, this is something I need to do. This is something I need to learn how to do. Because how can I call myself a parent if I can't provide a meal for my child?
Right.
True that. So
I took the time out. I took the time out to learn. It was a lot of trial and error. And now I can successfully say, I've learned. And I also do cooking on the side now. So it's just like, just really holding yourself accountable and honing in and learning a new skill,
But I like that you got that problem solving aspect that a lot of creatives do have. So that's how they grow into and go into other fields. But you do a lot. So what do you think is your niche? Because you're a music producer, an artist, a videographer, and the list goes on. What is your passion? Which one do you like more than the other?
Well, ultimately, I'll tell you, I do a lot of different things, and like a lot of it is because, you know, I have had interest in it in the past and wanted to learn, or, you know, just a secondary thing to do. But ultimately, I would like to A&R for a label. I feel like my ear is everything when it comes to music. When since I've been working in the scene, I've started, like I said, I started off doing across South Carolina, and within it, music has always been incorporated since day one. I've had a few artists in the past that I managed, and when it comes to people sending me different, you know, whether that's production, it's like I can easily just pick up on it and send it out to artists like, yo, I think you'll sound good on this. And it turns into something. So really just that's really ultimately what I want to be within the industry. And then hopefully, you know, a CEO of a label one day. But, you know, I feel like that's my niche. My niche is my ear. I have a good ear for talent and a good eye for talent as well.
That goes right into the next question. So, you know, people don't understand that putting together a project like Amethyst takes more than having a good relationship with artists or amazing music. But as an executive producer, you're essentially like a project manager. You hold your team accountable, such as the artists, producers, and anyone else helping out with the project, like time, budget, and everything like that. What suggestions would you give to other aspiring artists trying to complete a project kind of similar to Amethyst?
One of the things I can suggest is, you know, building relationships with people. Relationships are very important. That's one thing that I pride myself on being able to do. When it came to us even doing Amethyst, like a lot of it was built off of relationships we had in the past. Me and Black Dave, he's another creative from out of Charleston. We pretty much came together, and we've ultimately always wanted to do this because we were doing shows simultaneously, like in the city, and we would have different people on the bill every time we would do things. So within that, we made connections. We meet artists, we meet producers, we meet photographers, we meet other creatives. So when it came down to us even putting it together, it was kind of simple. A simple email, like we invited the different artists that we knew that we may have worked with in the past, and then we also invited artists that we wanted to work with in the past and wasn't able to for whatever reason, and as well as artists that we didn't know. So within it grew organically. Like it grew organically. A lot of these people were already in contact over the internet, you know, whether that's through Twitter. A lot of artists are on Twitter and, of course, Instagram. So it kind of just grew organically. And when it came down to us and doing an album, I pretty much did like a concept album like this before, but I hand selected artists, and it was just like they're just like an introduction. They had like 2 tracks on it, but I wanted to do an album to where I have a different mixture of artists in the room, you know, a different sound, different people who wouldn't normally work together, you know. So within it grew to be a great thing. And what was I say? We're on the second installment of it now. We're in the process of releasing it. But yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and I feel like it really is a compilation album that would give you the different sounds within South Carolina. The different feels within South Carolina is all different. It's a gumbo. Like it's literally a gumbo. Like
that's the perfect word for it, being from the South.
It is.
So can you tell us more about Amethyst? Like the people that you have featured on it, are you actually on it? Or are you just producing it?
I was actually just the coordinator. So when it came down to us putting it together, I reached out to the artists that we were going to select, I reached out to Jetlag. Shout out to Jetlag Studios in Spartanburg, and I pretty much went to him with the idea, and we did it over the course of 2 days. We got artists from the upstate. Who we got? We got Sausalina. She's gonna be on there. She's an artist from the upstate. I'm trying to think. It's so many. It's so many people. Like it's so many people. One of the artists I work with, Big Guinea, he's gonna be on it. Yeah, it's a lot of different people. It's a lot of different people. But
you don't gotta leave nobody out. That's what I say. I always hate stuff like that because you want to list everybody. You want to leave anybody out.
You put on the spot like that. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of people on there. I would advise people to go follow Amethyst NSC. That's on Instagram. And I believe Black Dave's in the process of making the album into an NFT. He's in that space right now.
Cool.
Wow.
That's official. I ain't heard of that yet. I have not.
That's what the only person I know doing that right now is Snoop Dogg.
See?
Yeah, he's ahead of the game.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know, but a lot of rock stars, they were on NFTs early.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
They were.
So like, hip hop is just kind of catching up with it. And Black Dave, he's in that space because he does anime. He does anime.
Oh, word. Okay.
So he does anime and art. And I know as of recently, he's been selling his music along with NFTs, and he's been making pretty good, like on it. So
smart. They catch it before the curve. Yeah, catch the curve. Yep. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what it's going to do and what it's going to do ultimately for the state. That's really the whole reason behind even doing it.
That's what I'm about to ask you. Like, what's the purpose? What do you want the vehicle to do? You wanting to get those artists and get them out to the other parts of the country?
I want South Carolina to be a hub. I want South Carolina to be a hub. It's so many different talented artists that's coming from out of South Carolina that came from South Carolina.
Other places.
Yeah, so within that, a couple months ago, I watched a documentary called Muscle Shoals. And Muscle Shoals is in Alabama. It was a record store that was in Alabama. And it's a small town, but all the stars back in the 70s used to come. Yeah, that's actually where Aretha Franklin wrote and made Respect.
Dang.
And it's a small town. And a lot of people don't know, but that was her first hit. That was her first hit because she did a lot of commercial music early on in her career, but it wasn't going anywhere. So, they wanted to switch her sound up. And that record store allowed her to do so. So once people started catching on to it and hearing, these different sounds that's coming from this small shop, they started going there, and everybody will go there and get a hit. And I just feel like that's kind of where South Carolina is at right now, because it's so many different people behind the scenes within South Carolina that's responsible for different sounds that's out now. And being that we are a state that has three interstates running through.
Yeah, crisscrossing right through us, yeah.
I want people to be able to come here, other major artists to come here and get a particular sound, because it's the reason why I love South Carolina music so much, it's so many different styles. You go to the upstate, you will hear 3 different sounds. You go to the Midlands, you will hear 4 or 5 different sounds. You go to the Low Country, even within the Low Country and the Gullah.
Yeah, pockets and pockets. Yeah,
yeah, it's different pockets within that. So yeah, I want us to be a hub. I want we have these artists are traveling up and down these highways every day. You know what I'm saying? And we don't even know it. So if we have a hub to where people can come and and record and get a certain sound, get a certain hit, that's going to do well for us.
Oh, it's going to help the economy. Oh, it's going to be a big thing. And you're so very right about it. People don't even think about it. It's like, you got 95, 20, 77, 26, like just running right through the state. And you have to have and we don't have many. It is weird that we don't. It's weird to think about that we should be a hub.
Yeah.
Because everything passes through here. We have the second largest port on the East Coast. People come here, man. Yeah, people come here.
They just need to know where to go.
That's it.
And I want it to be where, we don't feel as though we have to go off and, show our representation. I want our representation to be shown here. I want people to come here and see that. I want them to feel that, We complain about the different stuff that we don't like within the state, but there's also a lot of beautiful stuff that other places don't have. And they come and they feel that. If you're able to connect with certain parts of yourself, I feel like they will bring a lot of creativity out of you.
Mm-hmm. Pushed up against the wall. That kind of goes into my question about, being from St. Matthews. I know it's a small town. How were you able to grow yourself as far as your networking with people?
Well, I've always, I tell people now, as a kid, I was always that I'm in your face kid. Hey, look what I can do. You know what I'm saying? But as I got older, I got more mellow, but I still take my business approach the same way. So with even me doing my first show, I did my first show in Charleston, and that's a whole nother market. I didn't know anyone in that market. The only person I really knew in that market was the person who I did the show at. But what I did do is not only did I promote on social media, but I also did the footwork. I don't mind going to talk to people. I do the old school route and pass out flyers. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm about to say,
I hold hands and kiss babies. You know what I'm saying? But it's really all boils down to, being in tune with your audience, being in tune with the people. If you come to one of my events, I want you to feel that hospitality that my mama gave me, being from a small town, I'm applying that to business. If you're coming to my event, I want you to feel at home. I want you to feel comfortable. Why? Because I want you to come back again. I want you to bring 2 or 3 other friends. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's very important when you are doing events, being personable. I always want people to feel as though they got access to me. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever feel as though you can't, come up and talk to me. I'm going to come and approach you so that you know that I'm approachable.
That's good. Yeah. Some people think celebrities are put them on a pedestal. They're like, oh, you're too big. You don't care about us little people. But I like the fact that you.
Nah, because I always say that whole saying of you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. That goes a long way. You didn't have to come and support me. So within that, I'm going to make sure you have a good time. So I think that's very important. That's definitely very important, in building the audience, because people see that and when you show grace, it's going to come back to you. And that's one thing that we should strive to do more of, is show grace.
Agreed, man. You were serious about the peace, about the peace point.
I like that.
I like that, man. You are who you say you are. That's always a good thing.
So going into being more of a creative, creative entrepreneurs love to get involved with different projects to not only pursue opportunities, but to further express themselves. And we know that recently you launched your clothing line, Soul Food. Can you tell us what inspired you to create it, and what was the basic process of creating the clothing line, like the step-by-steps?
Well, even with that, I actually launched my brand back in 2013. Okay. But I did a recent rebrand.
Okay.
So within that, when I first started my brand, it was the idea of me and one of my late best friends. His name was Caleb Green. We was always talking about doing a brand back in high school, and due to his, a demise, we wasn't able to carry that out successfully together. So the whole name stems from him. He was actually a DJ. His name was DJ Soul Food.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But it was SOUL Food. He used to DJ techno mixed with 70s soul music. He was going to school in West Virginia, and he was actually about to relocate and go to USC. So he had started doing some gigs in Columbia. Unfortunately, he passed away March of 2012 in a car accident. So within that, like, it's a lot that goes into that. For one, I was actually supposed to be in the car with him that night that he passed. So, it plays a lot on me when it comes down to it. It's something that I'm not going to stop doing because it's a purpose behind it. And within that, I feel as though he left music behind with me because I wasn't always as interested in music as I am now. And from that, I said, I did a rebrand as a recent, it's bigger than just a clothing line. It's a lifestyle at this point. So, I've done it in the process of doing a rebrand. And within that, I have different things that I do outside of that. So one of the things that I'm working on now is shout out to Pitch 803. We have a project coming up alongside the community. And what we're going to do is we're going to start a community freeze program in the Midlands. We're in the process of doing that now. We have our first refrigerator that we just recently painted. We're in phase 1 of the paint. Shout out to Sunny Art. She's the first artist. She painted the first refrigerator that will be at Richland County Library, the one on North Main.
Okay.
And I came on board as creative director of that just to help her, spread the word, what she's trying, shine light on what she's trying to do. We're planning on getting more sponsors and putting these refrigerators in these deemed deserts, food deserts, these low income places. So we'll have different sponsors that's going to come in and be able to place food on a day-to-day basis, and people can come and get food for free.
That creative, man. So creative, man. That's tight.
So that's one of the things that I've been working on as a recent. That's a part of this rebrand that I'm very proud and eager to see.
As you should be.
Eager to see. So I guess I let people in on a little bit more, but we have different sponsors that's sponsoring. I think one of the sponsors is actually the sponsor that Gunna used to do his store out of Atlanta. They're supposed to be sponsored. So we have some more artists that we're going to get from different areas within South Carolina to paint these refrigerators. And we're currently documenting it all. So be on the lookout for that. Oh
wow! So you're catching all this being done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I can't wait for that to come out.
Let us know if we can help you, because I know a lot of artists in Columbia personally, not in Charleston or Charlotte really, but we have interviewed someone from Charlotte. So if you need anybody else, just hit us up and we can link you with them.
Yeah, I'll do so. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm very excited, for this. Like I said, we've been documenting it all, so I'm eager to see how it's going to turn out and how receptive it's going to be, for this project. So.
Yeah, man. I know I'm praying that works well and that there's not going to be anything that gets in the way of that. That's an excellent thing. That's using that creative mind and giving back to that community like tenfold, man. That's excellent. And I know this actually goes right into our next question very well. Like a lot of times as creatives, you tend to immerse yourselves into your projects. You, like I said, you put in your heart, your soul, blood, sweat, and tears and stuff. And as even though you use your work as a way to escape life stresses, they can unfortunately suppress your need for mental health, rest, and personal balance, man. So could you explain to our audience, especially trying to get strategies to millennials and et cetera, how to be of help, be of assistance, but also take care of yourself? Like, how do you deal with some of these challenges of work and life balance and making sure that you're keeping your mental health on the forefront so that you can, be who you are?
Well, I definitely say, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we all have an issue when it comes to holding ourselves accountable when it comes to certain things. That's the main thing that a lot of people should. It's hard to look in the mirror sometimes and correct things that we don't like about ourselves. Make sure we're doing things to our body to have a good mood, have a good mindset. I personally don't eat the healthiest. I would like to eat more healthy, and that's something that I'm going to have to work on. Yeah, yep. But just try to do things that make you happy, and that makes you ultimately happy. You know what I'm saying? You can't look for others to make you ultimately happy, and surround yourself around positive people. That's definitely key. Me personally, I'm real big on energy. It's different people day to day that we have to be around, but it really is in what capacity. You don't have to allow yourself to be around people fully. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's, just be protective of your energy.
Explain that to the audience, because I know what you mean. And it's real, like guarding your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just gotta do that.
Yeah. Just be mindful. Be mindful of the people that you have around you. Are they a positive influence on you? We've all dealt with that. Truth be told, a lot of our family isn't like that. So it's just my daddy always say, sometimes you got to feed people with a shovel versus a spoon. Feed people at a distance. You don't have to fully distance yourself, but just don't give them all of you. And hopefully they respect that time and respect that space. But yeah, just ultimately, just do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy, and trust the process. Definitely trust the process. I know everything that I'm doing is going to work out for me. When it comes to being a creative, we can fight at that because time will pass, and you'll see what others are doing. Focus on what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Only know what you're doing. What you're doing is ultimately going to make you profitable, make you happy, make you successful. Just focus on you.
Definitely agree on that.
So can you tell us like any more current projects that you have coming up, or, what can we expect from you? And also, where can we find you on social media to stay in contact with you?
Well, I plan on doing some more events going on into the year. Definitely focus on this project that I have going on right now. And I know we do plan on having a fundraising, a gala. It's going to be a black tie fair. I'm not going to give out the details where, but but it's definitely going to be something that people will talk about and hopefully turn into something that's going to be annual. But you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Twitter too sometimes, when I do want to speak my mind per se. But you can find me on both of them at BeFresh88. And also follow my business page is Soul Food is _SLFD. And that's on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Are you like interested in working with any particular type of artist? Just in case if they listen to the podcast, they know like, oh yeah, that he wants to work with my type of people to reach out to you. So like, who are you looking to work with in the future or the rest of this year coming up?
I'm looking to work with people who trust the process, who are consistent, who are open to dialogue, open to change. I don't you know, I like all different type of music. I just like people who.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, like there's no particular genre.
Yeah, because you know I work alongside with a funk band now. Shout out to Outer Ego. I met them top of last year, and they're dope. They're a local band from Colombia. Dope, like dope kids. They're from Irmo. And they
shout out to the local band.
So yeah, they do alternative and they do funk. And, you know, I've been helping them you know, build their audience and get shows.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you know, I just like people who enjoy music and enjoy creating, you know. I think that's something definitely, you know, I tell people all the time, when it comes down to being an artist, you know, if you want to make it within what you're doing, you know, with a job, let's say a regular job, when you go to have that interview, you have a resume. You know what I'm saying? You have experience. You have your list of things that you have done. So build that musically. You know, build your resume. You know.
Portfolio.
Yeah, build your portfolio. So when that time comes for you to be able to present it to a label or whatever situation that you have, even within, if you're trying to go the independent route, you know, have a discography for people to go back and listen to, you know, different sounds that you have and have had over the course of a couple of years. So, you know, I'm just into people who really like, you know, creating, really like expressing themselves. And you know, within that, I have no issue, you know, helping people elevate their sound, elevate their audience.
Well, that's what's up. I'm definitely interested in hearing about that group in Irmo. I would love for them to submit their music to our Spotify.
Oh, seriously, for funk band,
yeah. Tell them just to submit the music.
Yeah, you may have to. Have them submit something to us.
Basically, any artist you know can be on the podcast playlist. As long as their music's on Spotify, they can just send it to us and we'll add it on there.
No doubt. Yeah, I'll do so. And let me shout out Pedro English. I have him send his, as well as Atia and my homie Big Guinea as well.
Oh,
perfect.
For that. Well, I thank you. This was a good episode.
Right.
And you definitely cleared up a lot, because I know I watch your Instagram, so I'm like, he does a lot, but I don't know exactly what does he do. Like, so thank you for simplifying that.
No doubt. Yeah, I appreciate y'all time. I appreciate y'all having me. And, you know, like I said, just stay tuned for the different things that we have going on. And yeah, we all together. We all together in this, you know.
Got that right.
Yep.
So I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us this morning and listening to this episode. And make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Hilltop Glove Podcast. And we look forward to hearing from you guys next time. Thank you. That's it for today's episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hilltop Glove.